So, guys, I'm going to ask for your help today, especially my loyal viewers. If you could help me out, I would really appreciate it. And you're going to do that in the comment section down below at the conclusion of this video. But most of you already know that I'm a woodworker and I have an association with Artisan Woodshed to where we make these special studio enclosures for Soft Tube's Console 1 series. I will be branching out into some other control surfaces with the exception of SSL. My good friend Dennis already does that, and I'll put a link down to his website down below if you're looking at getting something for SSL's UF8 series and various control surfaces and everything that are part of that series. He does a fantastic job, and I cannot recommend him high enough. So anyway, I've already done some enclosures for these, both the single one. I'm going to show some pictures as I'm going through this. I've done an enclosure for just a single unit, to where if you just have that one and you're really kind of wanting to get it in a usable angle, which is a 15-degree angle, if you want to be able to get that in ergonomic and really have it really become a showcase of your studio, that's one option to go with. I've also made these dual enclosures where one's at 15 degrees and the other's at 45 degrees. And so that's one on the bottom and one at the top. And that's also another great option for really kind of adding some bling to your studio, as well as get both of those, the Console 1 MK3 as well as the Fader MK3, to be able to get those in a way that really make it ergonomic and easy to use and also makes it visually stunning. So I make those. So I've been dabbling a little bit with making some with the padded handrails or armrest like you can see right here. And I'm learning a few things. You know, this is a prototype for the record. And so there's that one in there. I've still got a lot of improvement to make on these, but however, I am making improvement. So as an example, in this one right here, it really needs to be lowered probably by about a ½ inch. It's kind of raised above this too much. So I've already started working on that design. But I'm curious. I want to tell you what the idea behind this was, and then this is where I'm going to look to get some feedback from you. Now, before I start that, if you notice on my desk right here, I already have a padded handrest on this Argosy series desk. So if I go to do this with just for me and me alone, this whole front section here would be removed, and so the control surface would really mount up right here at the edge of this, bringing that even closer to me. So that's what I would do for this, but I'm trying to look and see how can I help other folks out there. I've already realized I've already got this kind of lip down here where it comes out. I'm going to eliminate that and just have a flat edge going across. That's one of the things I plan to do. And again, lower this. So the idea behind doing it this way is if you just started with one unit and one unit alone, you could start with my single side panels and start with that. Later on, you decide to use another unit where you're going to have two options. You're going to have one like I showed you before, one down here at a 15-degree angle, and then the other one up here at a 45-degree angle, and you can go that route. However, some of you may want things side by side, especially if you're using two faders as an example. This is kind of in my opinion, and this is again another question for you guys out there. If you have two faders as an example, this is a fantastic way to go with that. Depends on how much available desk space that you have. And that's the reason I really haven't gone 3 wide here in this example. Now, there may be some folks out there that just really want a triple wide. Maybe they want a fader on the left, the Console 1 in the middle, and a fader on the right. But that will be a relatively long thing, but maybe that's something that you want. And I can certainly do that as well. No problem whatsoever. So again, that's another feedback point. Would you like me to pursue a 3 wide unit and not just a 2 wide unit? And so anyway, the design behind this is if you just started with 2 units, regardless of what they were, and then you added a 3rd unit on there. Now that most likely would be you have 2 faders like this, and then a Console 1 MK3 up here. That you could basically just buy this separate enclosure that is designed to come in and fit right over top of this, and then mount that in. And in that way, you don't have to buy a whole new enclosure for it. You don't have to start from scratch all over again. You continue to use this one. You're just adding this element to it back behind it. So anyway, that is the logic behind it. Again, on this desk, it's a little bit deceiving because that's a little bit farther recessed than I would prefer it. But that's mainly because I've got this padded handrest right here. Again, you bring that forward, that's going to bring that forward about 8 inches closer to me on this desk, as this would on your desk, because this would come right to the edge of your desk as an example, and put all this even closer. But what I really like about that is I can easily read the text on here. Now, I know a lot of us are going to rely on muscle memory, but especially in the beginning, it's easy to kind of see and not accidentally or minimize accidentally hitting the wrong button. And the same thing up here. This is to put it in a way that's more visually kind of stimulating. I can turn that on back there, and you can kind of see what the app looks like in conjunction with this, and you can make your changes accordingly with that. So ultimately, I'd love some feedback on this. Do you like this idea? If you were to change it, what would you change on it? Because I try to put myself in the mindset of myself as well as other users in the same way I try to do that on all the topics on this particular channel. But there are other people who just want different things, and I would love to get those ideas and find out what those are, and be able to, the ones that are out there that I find consensus among, implement that at some point. So I'd appreciate your help if you could. You'll notice a couple things here. The only really downside, in my opinion, to the Console 1 system from Softube is they don't have a dedicated control surface, not control surface, but transport system. And I think hopefully they will come out with a separate unit where they can add that, like Softube did with not Softube, but SSL did with theirs. I think it's important because currently right now what I'm using for that is this P1 Nano, and I put this in master fader mode. So in other words, all this fader's doing is controlling my master fader. Now I can control anything I want from this. So what this gives me is a couple of different things. It gives me access to all these programmable buttons in here. And so that's pretty neat and pretty cool. It gives me my transport command. If I navigate through a session on this, in other words, bank up 8, bank down 8, whatever, everything else will follow accordingly. And then if I have plugins that are not controllable with the MK3, then I can edit those in here if I choose to do that. So right now, this is kind of a temporary solution for me. I have been also using my Loop Deck CT over here, which you can, it's plugged into the USB, so it's hard to move it right there. But Logitech has really screwed this up. They bought the company out, and they really screwed the whole thing up. Thank God I was able to go back to a previous version. But if you have that unit, under no circumstances to update to 6, it's a complete nightmare. Now, that control surface is really designed towards video editing and Photoshop and Lightroom and things along that line, that happens to be able to be a control surface for digital audio workstations. Because of its cost, well, it's cost prohibitive to buy specifically for use with a digital audio workstation. It is a powerful unit, but it's an expensive unit compared to what you can get along the lines with something like this. Now, these guys have a definite hit or miss success story out there. I did go through quite a bit of issues with a couple of their units when I was evaluating them. But for right now, this is doing what I need it to do. But then again, I'm not trying to push it beyond that because I've got this glorious Softube 1 Console 1 system here that I absolutely love. So anyway, I'd appreciate if you give me some feedback. Let me know your thoughts on it and tell me, give me whatever advice you've got. Whatever you've got, I'm going to appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.